How's it going, guys and geeks? Welcome back to the Geek Critique Show. We're doing our Geekly Poll today. It's a beautiful day in New York, and we're going, well, you'll see where we're going in a little bit. But we had more votes on this Geekly Poll. It's almost doubled the highest number of poll results that we've ever had. And I think we got like 418 votes on whether or not Rotten Tomatoes scores affect the way you view or enjoy a film. But because it was so popular, because we're getting more comments each and every time we do one of these vlogs, we're going to have to kind of set the standard for, like, if there are a lot of comments, we can't reasonably choose all of them. So what we're going to be doing, what we're going to try to do, is do 15 comments. And how we're going to break that down is the poll option that got the most votes, that'll get 5. The second most poll votes gets 4 comments that we read. 3, 2, and then 1 for the poll option with the least amount. So that adds up to 15 comments that we'll end up reading. We'll cherry pick them to see a good variety of different opinions based on each of the poll results, so that we have a nice conversation.
Okay, so today we're at Vanderbilt Mansion, and unfortunately it's under construction, but there's still plenty of beautiful things to see and do today, so we're gonna check it out.
Poll options are: 1, no, I don't let critic scores affect whether I see or enjoy a movie. 2, yes, I look to see if the film is good before spending money on it. 3, sure, I'll watch a rotten movie, but I go in with the bias. 4, I'm not sure if seeing good or bad reviews affects my experience. And 5, I don't read or watch reviews before experiencing a film. From our experience using Rotten Tomatoes over the years, those are the 5 most popular opinions that I've seen expressed in terms of, like, do you see the Rotten Tomatoes score before or after you see a film, and does that affect your viewing experience? So a lot of you guys voted in. Let's see your results.
So the highest number of votes was, no, I don't let critics' scores affect whether I see or enjoy a movie. And that was 52% of you that voted in on that.
That's trying to work with me.
Okay, so the second poll option is, yes, I look to see if a film is good before spending money on it. And 18% of you voted in on that.
The third option, sure, I'll still watch a rotten movie, but I'll go in with the bias. And I should have actually mentioned, I'll go watch a rotten movie or a certified fresh movie, not just a rotten movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Six percent of you voted for, I'm not sure if seeing good or bad reviews affects my experience.
And our last option is, I don't read or watch reviews before experiencing the film. And 10% of you voted in on that. And I kind of agree with this. For the most part, if I am really excited to see a film, I try not to watch reviews. Luna can't handle it anymore. If I'm really excited to see a film, I try not to see any reviews, just because I don't want to know what other people think. I think I'm naturally empathetic, and I try to see the way that other people think. So if I know someone else's opinion before seeing a film, even if I don't agree with it, I might say, oh, I kind of see where they're coming from with that. We're honored to say that we got a comment from Superman himself, and he says, no, I don't let critic scores affect whether I see or enjoy a movie. Should I wait for that to stop? A lot of times bad scores don't mean that a film is bad, vice versa. I've seen really great films with bad scores. Critics can say what they want about a film, But at the end of the day, it's just their opinion and nothing more. I can say the opposite of what a critic may say, and just because they're a critic doesn't mean their opinion is any more correct than mine.
Okay, and that boils down to the idea that everyone has their own opinion, and just because you have a certain opinion doesn't mean others' opinions are wrong, which I can't really argue that.
Yeah. I mean, critics are, like, they are supposed to have the, like, education to back up their opinions.
But a lot of times it's mood. It's mood-based, or how they feel going into the film. A lot of films in our culture, especially like DC Comics films, critics go in thinking, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, and for a lot of them, this isn't their genre of choice, so I don't know how much their opinion really should matter.
Right. Joel does stuff. I base my decision on the impression I get based off marketing as well as early trailers. You can't always trust hearsay or internet buzz. My own personal interests are also an important factor regardless of positive or negative reaction. And that too says a lot, because if you're personally invested in a film for whatever reason, like I really wanted to see Warcraft because I played World of Warcraft for 8 years of my life. It was a bad film, but it was a fun film, and I enjoyed it more than the average critic would have because of my experience with the game. So that definitely affects a viewing, and like especially if you want to view a film in general. DL, you had a pretty aggressive opinion. You said anyone who doesn't have their own brain and lets preconceived notions affect their decisions is a moron. I bet I could find one thing in each person's life that is located in a Walmart that in which they purchased that has bad reviews as well, yet they didn't stop them from buying it. So why would a movie review score? I don't shop at Walmart, but if I did, that's not really the same thing, because entertainment, you go to be entertained. You don't go to the movies to have a bad time.
And I think too, people are much quicker to order something, you know,
in
cheap,
haste.
like you would get. Yeah, like if I need this right now and I don't have any other options and the only thing nearby is a Walmart, then I'll buy that. Whereas, you know, entertainment, for some people, it's a luxury that they can't always afford to do every weekend. So if they see a review sucks and they're like, oh, well, I heard it sucks, so I'll just wait for it to come out on DVD.
Or I'll wait for the next film. Or I'll see another film.
I don't think that checking to see the ratings on something would make someone brainless necessarily, but I do think that there are a lot of really good films out there that kind of don't get the credit that they deserve because of bad ratings.
The Drusif, you said, I personally really don't like Rotten Tomatoes. Sure, it's helpful to see a review or a movie rating, but I guarantee if you look up your favorite movies you liked growing up, it'll show you many bad ratings. That's true. Even if some of the films they review are considered bad to them, they could still bring joy to your heart. How can you really listen to a reviewer and take their word on what's good or bad? Movies are a form of art, and it's always subjective. You should just enjoy what you enjoy and stop worrying about what everyone else likes. This is what makes the cinema so great. And I agree with that to some extent, especially considering the way critics become critics is by understanding what is bad. So you kind of have to experience bad films to become a critic yourself, to have your own opinion, to enjoy certain films versus others. And a lot of the good memories you have from your youth are probably of bad films that you saw in the theaters or on VHS or something like that.
Okay, so Queen Moriarty, you say, I like to have an idea of what I'm paying for, and I'm probably biased by the score it gets, but I never rely on a review to decide whether that movie will be/is enjoyable. I have enough movie watching experience to know that critically acclaimed movies, even Oscar winners and nominees, are not always good for my taste.
I like that point.
I've never been able to finish Birdman despite it being Best Motion Picture, and I have enjoyed rotten movies. And yeah, I agree with that. I feel like sometimes I've gone back at some of my favorite films and looked up their Rotten Tomato scores and they've tanked completely, and I don't really understand why. So I definitely don't think that our taste has to fall in line with the critic's taste. And that doesn't make you stupid, or it doesn't make you incapable of enjoying a good film, but it's just a matter of taste levels, and what's to say that theirs is more important than ours. Okay, and Kev Halls, you said you don't let critics' scores affect whether you see or enjoy a movie because critics nitpick and speak for the few. True. You can't let them rule our world. YGO, you say, all the experience I have with reviews means spoilers. So I don't look at any. If I do see a non-spoiler review, it won't affect me too much. I am a very independent person. But yeah, that's another reason why I avoid reviews also. I feel like constantly people say things that they don't realize, you know, means anything, but we, the audience, are capable of putting a couple of dots together. So a couple of times I've been like, oh, if that's what happens, that means this most likely is what is going on in this film. Oh, okay, well, she's still alive, or oh, well, he dies.
Pablo, you said, firstly, I don't want spoilers. Secondly, I don't want to get a bias, and let me think for my own if the movie is good or bad. Pretty straightforward. Josh Oldershaw says, it really depends. If I watch a trailer for a movie that looks bad and a review confirms, then I probably won't watch it. However, if I'm really hyped for a movie and the trailer looks amazing, but it gets slammed in the reviews, I'll watch it and decide for myself if it was good or not. And this actually happens to us a lot, where we think a movie looks kind of crappy, but we hold our breath, and then we see the reviews and it's just like, alright, well, I expected this to happen, probably won't see it. This happened with X-Men Apocalypse. I was already extremely burnt out with the X-Men franchise, and those trailers just looked like a bunch of explosions in quick succession, and I was just like, is there going to be any storyline for this movie? And it turns out there wasn't. So we decided not to see that one, and that's an extreme case because I love X-Men movies.
And that doesn't happen to us all that often. It's just when you're like us and you want to see a different film, you know, every couple of weeks, it's better to be selective, and if you can wait for the DVD to come out, to do so.
Or digital streaming. Luna's the assistant to the regional branch manager.
And LD Kinboat, I hope I'm saying that right, you say, it depends. If I really want to see a movie beforehand, I ignore all reviews until I see it. If I'm on the fence, I look. And yeah, that's kind of the way that we are also. It's like, if I'm super excited and I'm not letting anything get in my way, then no, I'm not watching any reviews. But if I'm like, that looks okay, is it worth it? Then I'll check out one or two. The back is closed.
There's a glitch in the Matrix. Amity, you say, not sure the bias must be bad, particularly if I like the idea or buzz before it was reviewed. I may go to prove them wrong. Seen some of the early 8 Films to Die For series of movies, got the free t-shirt. Almost all of them weren't worth my time. Bored to death sometimes. Probably not a good example, but I supported the concept. I wanted it to be good. And yeah, I totally agree. I should have actually put, I'll go in with the bias even if it's rotten or extremely well received, like certified fresh films are, because sometimes you go to see a certified fresh film that all the critics love, but the everyday moviegoer just doesn't appreciate.
Remember the time we walked through this?
Atomic Blast says, because I don't like wasting money, or I will just watch it online for free. LOL.
Lol. So Crimson Tango, which I really like your name, by the way. You say, I do read a few reviews from critics that I mostly agreed with in the past, but reviews have never affected whether I enjoy the film or not. And that's a good way to be. You know, you're just getting an overall opinion, and it's good that you go for people that you know share your taste, because then you won't see a review and then have a totally different experience when you go to see the movie.
Hey, big guy. Sun's getting real low.
Oh my god, please stop. These echoes are more angry.
Yeah. The Bromidic Nerd. Money is limited for me, so I like to read an amalgamation of different reviews while keeping myself free of spoilers as much as I can before I spend money to go see a film. Very reasonable. Though I do occasionally like to purposely see a bad film out of curiosity, and so I can properly form an opinion on it without just echoing what I hear. I kind of want to see Mother, just because everyone says it's so bad.
Yeah, see, I read the reviews on that and I was like, that doesn't interest me at all. I mean, I think even beforehand that wouldn't have interested me. Hey guys, and I mentioned a couple of weeks back our friend Suzanne. I told you to check out her Instagram page, but now she has a YouTube channel. So it's under the same name, SUZUVERSE. She's an artist and she's excellent. So check her out. So Jay Scott, you have a message here, but I just wanted to say if you replace these like question mark symbols with the letter I, it works. I don't know if that's what you were going for, but we're just gonna kind of guess that it is. So you say, I'm more likely to point out flaws in a movie if I go in knowing that it was a poor score because I'll still watch it myself to form my own opinions. I use the score of the movie as an expectation, but not as a persuasion. For example, last year, I went in the theater expecting Suicide Squad to be horrible due to the low score, but to my surprise, I enjoyed the film. Even though I could point out what went wrong, the point is a score doesn't fully affect me or whether or not I'll see a movie, but it does sure change the way I see said movie. Yeah, that kind of makes sense too, and I feel like that's happened to me before too, where you see a film and it's like, oh, this is gonna be garbage, but then it actually pleasantly surprises you. And maybe if you had gone in with the expectation of this is gonna be the best film ever, then you're a little disappointed. So that kind of makes sense also. Another thing that I wanted to say is that I feel like our poll might be a little skewed because people who watch a review YouTube channel are really into film and much more inclined to be opinionated than the average viewer. I'm wondering if our poll of the first poll option might have been a little biased because of that, because of our viewers in general.
Oh, and if you have any ideas as far as what we should do for our poll next week or the weeks going forward, I think I know what I want to do next week, and I think it has to do with, yeah, this is what our poll for next week is going to be. I just came up with it. Do you want the X-Men to be in the MCU?
Ayo, Fox up in here.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a pretty skewed poll as well. But I want you guys to comment in the comment section below different poll ideas that we can play off of for future ideas for videos. Mm-hmm. And if you have any cool places to see in the New York area,
let us know,
yeah, we'd love to check them out.
Pew pew!
As for our opinions on whether or not the Rotten Tomato scores work or not, I think it's a good gauge on my own personal level of enjoyment I receive in a film. Generally speaking, I would probably say 75% of the time, the average critic score is what I end up feeling is what the movie's worth as far as enjoyment. Sometimes that kind of burns you out a little bit though, because Thor Ragnarok definitely does not deserve a 93 in my book. I would say maybe a B- for that film. Even though I thought it was great, I thought it was a very funny film, definitely did not deserve that high of praise. But that's just me.
And as for me, which I mentioned before, sometimes if I do read a review beforehand, Like this was the case for Batman vs Superman. I didn't want to. He was reading reviews and I overheard them, or he was watching them and I overheard them. And then while I was watching the film, I thought, oh yeah, I kind of see where they're coming from with this. And it's hard because I wonder if I would have even noticed some of those things had I not seen the review, but it kind of, to me, like after hearing something about a film, I unintentionally kind of start thinking about that while I'm watching, which is really unfortunate. So that's why for me, I try to avoid reviews prior to seeing any films.
Yeah, I agree.
It just distracts me a bit. Or even if I have someone that I know that says, oh yeah, I like this movie, oh yeah, this part, oh you'll see it, it's the best, then I'm kind of waiting for it, and I don't like that.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been a lot of fun. This was Vanderbilt Mansion. Although they were under construction, we did get to check out a lot of the grounds, which is really cool.
So pretty.
A very beautiful area. It's in Hyde Park, New York, which is kind of funny because it kind of looks like Hyde Park, London. So if you haven't already seen our trip to London vlog, I think it's called An American Couple in London. I think if you actually search that, we're the first that pops up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But we'll leave it right here for you guys.
Yeah, when
to
we
check
were in
out.
Hyde Park, I was like, oh, this actually looks a lot like it. So, there you go.
Yeah. All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye.